Where do the fires keep coming from? If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you might have wondered about this question, like, where do these fires keep coming from? And the experience for many business owners is that there's just fire after fire after fire, and you spend your whole day putting them out. And perhaps you might have this thought, it's like, where do they keep coming from? Because you look over that way and there's this big fire burning and you've got to rush over there, you get that one settled, then you come back and there's another one over here and it's burning away. And the curious thing is, like, where are they coming from? This is a very common experience in business. You know it, I know it. We know that this fire problem is extremely common. And I've been thinking about this. I've been like, okay, hang on, there's this big fire burning over here that suddenly needs everyone's attention. But if it's a big fire, it was probably a smaller fire. And before that, it was probably a really small fire, maybe just a bit of smoke. And the problem is not that it was a really big fire. The problem was that you let it get that big, that we let it get to that size before we could see it. Before we could see it. You see, once it's this big burning fire or problem, now it's obvious. Everyone in the business can see it, and you get called in. I get called in and like, oh, come and help us. How did this giant mess has happened? Sort it out. But if we could see better, if we could see it when it was a small fire, or see it when it was just a smouldering amount and there's a little bit of smoke coming, then our lives are going to be a lot easier. Our lives are going to be a lot easier. Why? Because how much easier is it to put out a smouldering tiny fire than it is to put out a giant big raging fire? It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. So the problem we face is not so much that there are fires. There's always going to be fires. It's just what size of fires do we want to be dealing with? Do we want to be dealing with massive raging fires that take a lot of effort and a lot of time and have us working 60, 80 hours every week and watching all the profit go out to basically put the fire out? You may as well get a hose, connect it to your profits and just put these fires out with your profits. Or would you like to go over and just put a cup of water on the small smouldering fire, put it out? But that requires you to be able to see. And see, this is the problem. We can't see. We can't see what's going on in the business. If we could see those little fires and put them out. Oh, look, that one's falling behind. Oh, that person, that team member has called in sick. What are they meant to be doing? I've got no idea. But what about if you did have an idea and you could assess and say, oh, hang on, all right, I've got my team players here. That job that they were meant to get done today, but they're sick, that's more important than these other ones right now. Let's going to deploy some people over here and they're going to handle it. So that requires a couple of things. One, optics, and number two, which we've just touched on, is the ability for your team to be resilient, for them to be able to do work across the business if required. Obviously, this is not ideal, but in a pinch, someone's got COVID, someone's quit, someone's whatever, that you can take another team member and get them to work over there. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that the two solutions, the two problems that we're dealing with here, optics and people being able to do work in more than just their one place in the business, comes down to the same solution. and that is how you do your systems and processes. How you fit your people into your systems is going to determine how well you can see the work of the business, and it's going to determine how well you can reassign your team to cover where you need them in that moment. All right, that's all I got for you. If you need some help around systems and processes, and you'd like your people to be able to work in them and for them to enjoy it and say, you know what? I actually prefer working with these systems because it makes my life easier, then head over to systemio.dev. That's all I got for you tonight. Interesting solution though. If you don't let the fire get so big, then it's much easier to put it out. All right, look forward to seeing you next time.